It's the most controversial Princess Diana story ever. It made world headlines and sent shockwaves through the British establishment.
Royal chaos has erupted like never before. Queen Camilla has allegedly been thrown out of the palace after explosive claims linked her to Princess Diana's tragic death. Following a shocking investigation, new evidence has surfaced, and insiders say Camilla has been found guilty in a twist that's sending shockwaves through the monarchy. For years, whispers swirled about hidden truths and buried secrets, but now it's all come crashing into the public eye. So, what did they uncover? And how did Camilla's downfall turn the royal family upside down overnight? Let's find out. The day the Queen fell. On July 16, 2025, the United Kingdom was rocked by a royal scandal that no one could have predicted. The nation held its breath as shocking news broke. Queen Camilla had been placed under strict palace confinement, accused of treason and conspiracy. The gravity of the moment was staggering. In a swift and unexpected move, security forces stormed Clarence House, the official residence of the Queen Consort. Camilla, caught completely off guard, was calmly but firmly informed. "You are being detained under royal warrant, pending criminal review." The monarchy, an institution built on tradition and secrecy, was suddenly thrown into chaos. Just 2 days later, King Charles himself signed the formal arrest order, a heartbreaking and history-defining decision. With one signature, he effectively removed the woman he had loved for decades from her royal status, and forever altered the face of the British royal family. Whispers of betrayal echoed through the corridors of Buckingham Palace as the weight of a centuries-old dynasty began to buckle. The trial that followed was held in Westminster Hall, one of the most symbolic locations in British history. Over the course of 8 intense hours, the world witnessed a parade of jaw-dropping evidence. Personal letters from Princess Diana, heavily redacted documents, suspicious financial transactions, and previously unreleased voice recordings painted a picture that was hard to ignore. Camilla's legal team tried to argue that, at worst, she had been careless, but never malicious. They claimed it was negligence, not a plot. But by then, public opinion had turned sharply. The tide was no longer in Camilla's favor. Then came the moment that would go down in royal history. Prince William, visibly shaken, took the witness stand and read aloud from one of his late mother's letters. "They want me out of the way," Diana had written. Haunting, chilling words that echoed through the centuries-old hall. William's voice cracked with emotion. For a brief moment, the courtroom and the entire nation stood still. It was more than testimony. It was a son defending the truth of his mother's fears. And in that moment, even the hardest hearts softened. 12 days after her detention, on July 28th, the court reached a final decision: guilty. The sentence was unprecedented. Camilla was stripped of all royal titles and privileges. No longer permitted to act in any royal capacity, she was banished to the remote Isle of Skye, where she would live out her days far from public view. Any hope of inheriting royal wealth or influence was completely erased. The woman once crowned Queen Consort became the most disgraced figure in modern royal history. As news of the verdict spread, crowds erupted in cheers, celebrating what they saw as long-awaited justice for Princess Diana. Yet inside the palace, the mood was somber and shaken. A storm had passed, but it had left deep scars on the monarchy. The legacy of King Charles would forever be marked by the day he chose duty over love. And for the House of Windsor, the price of secrecy and betrayal had finally come due. What began as whispers of suspicion had become a global reckoning, a moment that exposed the dark undercurrents behind the royal facade. For the people, it was a turning point. For the palace, it was a reckoning. And for Camilla, it was the end of a reign that had once seemed untouchable. So, Why was Camilla arrested? What could she have done that led to the arrest? Let's find out. The secret that wouldn't die. For decades, the British royal family has captivated the world with its grandeur, long-standing traditions, and the carefully curated mystique that surrounds life behind palace walls. From glittering crowns to guarded secrets, the House of Windsor has always maintained a certain untouchable elegance. But even the strongest fortresses have cracks, and in the shadows of the monarchy, one of the darkest rumors has continued to smolder. The tragic death of Princess Diana was no accident. The year was 1997. The world wept as news broke that the People's Princess had died in a car crash in Paris. Official reports blamed a drunk driver and aggressive paparazzi. But for many, especially those closest to her, something never quite added up. Whispers of conspiracy swirled for years, but no proof ever truly emerged until now. Fast forward to May 6, 2023. King Charles III is officially crowned with Camilla by his side, wearing the crown once reserved for queens of unshakable legacy. The coronation was meant to symbolize stability, healing, and continuity after years of royal turbulence. Yet behind the scenes, Prince William, Diana's eldest son, had been quietly seeking answers about his mother's final moments. What started as a deeply personal investigation became something far bigger. Known only to a few top-level insiders, an internal inquiry titled Operation Orchid was launched. Authorized discreetly by William himself, the probe aimed to examine the events leading up to that fateful night in Paris. It wasn't just about grief anymore. It was about justice, truth, and closure. As investigators dug into the royal archives, a forgotten 2003 legal dossier was unearthed. The file revealed strange gaps in Diana's security arrangements during her last trip, including last-minute changes and unexplained delays. At the same time, previously sealed encrypted emails from Clarence's house came to light. Among the cryptic language were unsettling phrases like destabilizing risk and legacy transition, words that seemed more fitting for a spy novel than a royal household. But even these clues weren't enough, until the discovery of a voice recording changed everything. A newly uncovered MI6 file, dated August 29, 1997, just 2 days before the crash, contained audio from a call intercepted by intelligence operatives. The voice, identified through forensic analysis as belonging to Camilla, then Charles's longtime companion, was heard saying softly, "Are you sure the escort can wait?" That escort, meant to be part of Diana's security convoy, never arrived. The delay was not random, it was intentional. And 2 nights later, Diana's vehicle crashed in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. The implications were staggering. Why would Camilla be involved? Was it jealousy, ambition, or something far more sinister? What did she gain by Diana's sudden and suspicious death? And how deep did the deception run within the royal inner circle? Though the palace has remained tight-lipped and official channels deny any wrongdoing, public pressure has grown louder. Protests, headlines, and urgent parliamentary inquiries have begun to stir. With the monarchy already under strain from modern scrutiny, the legacy of Princess Diana once again threatens to reshape the very foundation of the British royal family. And at the heart of it all is one haunting question. Did Camilla play a part in the most shocking royal scandal of our time? The answers may finally be emerging, and the world is watching. But was there anything indicating that Camilla was responsible for the heinous crime? Let's delve into the details of the letter in which Diana had pointed fingers at Camilla. Diana's final warnings revealed. The tide of history shifted in May 2025 with a discovery that sent shockwaves through Buckingham Palace and the world beyond. Hidden for nearly 30 years in a private vault once owned by Paul Burrell, Princess Diana's former butler.
I was protecting Diana's legacy, keeping it safe, because it was being changed all around me.
Were 2 handwritten letters. These weren't just ordinary notes. They were Diana's final warnings. Dated October 1996 and June 1997, the letters had been carefully preserved, sealed in envelopes marked "to be opened only if." One letter read, chillingly, "Camilla has more power than anyone believes." The other was even more haunting. "If anything happens to me on this trip, open this." The trip she referenced was her ill-fated journey to Paris, from which she never returned. Until now, they had been locked away, untouched, their contents known only to Burrell, who claimed he had followed Diana's instructions to keep them safe. But it wasn't until Prince William himself authenticated and unsealed them in the spring of 2025 that the world heard Diana's voice again, this time from beyond the grave. The revelations were staggering. These were not the ramblings of paranoia, but the calm, deliberate words of a woman who sensed danger and betrayal closing in. For decades, conspiracy theories about her death had swirled, but this was different. It was her handwriting, her warning, her fear. Almost instantly, the world reacted. Social media exploded. The hashtag Justice for Diana trended globally within hours. Streets across London filled with candlelight vigils. Major networks interrupted programming for breaking news. And, in an unprecedented move, the British Parliament called for an emergency session to address the implications of the letters. For the first time in modern history, the very foundation of the monarchy was being questioned, by the voice of a beloved princess long gone. And then, from the most unexpected corner of the royal family, came support. Princess Anne. Long respected for her integrity and devotion to duty, Anne had always remained somewhat distant from palace drama. But now, she stepped forward with explosive information. Through a quiet but determined investigation of her own, she uncovered a $2.4 million offshore transfer to a shadowy Paris-based firm named Lucentia Global. This company had been contracted under vague and suspicious terms to manage Diana's movements during her final hours at the Ritz Hotel. Emails and financial records linked the payment directly to an aide in Camilla's inner circle. More alarmingly, the documents detailed instructions to alter Diana's route and reduce her security detail that fateful night. Anne brought her findings to the highest authority, King Charles. According to insiders, she laid the evidence on his desk, her voice firm and unwavering. Charles, reportedly pale and silent, studied the documents. Then, he spoke just 5 words: "Do what must be done." What followed was swift and historic. Camilla, once untouchable, now stood accused, at least in the court of public opinion. The palace was thrown into chaos. Calls for her resignation as queen consort echoed through both media and parliament. Investigations were launched. Royal advisors scrambled. Protesters gathered outside Windsor, demanding answers. The turning point had come not from fiction, not from rumor, but from the woman whose life and death had defined an era. Diana's words, once silenced, now roared through the heart of the nation, piercing decades of secrecy and stirring a reckoning no one could ignore. But what could have made her suspect Camilla? Were they involved in any misunderstanding? Let's dive into the details of the love triangle that shook the roots of the British monarchy. A royal love triangle. It wasn't quite the fairy tale everyone imagined. When Lady Diana Spencer walked gracefully down the aisle in 1981, wearing an iconic ivory gown with a 25-foot train, the world watched in awe. She was just 20 years old, fresh-faced and full of hope, seemingly stepping into the perfect royal love story. At her side was Prince Charles, 32, heir to the British throne. Their wedding was a global spectacle, watched by an estimated 750 million people. To the world, it looked like a dream come true, a shy young woman marrying her prince. But behind the grand ceremony and royal smiles, the foundations of their marriage were already fragile. Unknown to many at the time, Charles's heart had long belonged to another woman, Camilla Shand. They had met back in 1970, long before Diana came into the picture. So why didn't Charles marry Camilla in the first place? The answer was rooted in royal tradition and outdated expectations. Camilla, lacking aristocratic lineage and a so-called pure reputation, was deemed unfit for the future king. Royal advisors and public opinion pushed Charles to find a more suitable bride, someone noble, innocent, and seen as a perfect future queen. Camilla, meanwhile, moved on with her life and married Andrew Parker Bowles while Charles was serving in the Royal Navy. Though heartbroken, Charles never truly let her go. They remained close, and by the late 1970s they had rekindled their relationship, even before Charles proposed to Diana. Diana, the daughter of an earl and from a family older than the Windsors themselves, checked all the royal boxes. Ironically, Charles had dated Diana's older sister Sarah a few years earlier. That relationship ended after Sarah spoke too openly to the press. When a journalist asked the couple in 1981 if they were in love, Diana replied sweetly, "Of course." But Charles' response was unsettling. "Whatever in love means." That awkward answer foreshadowed the emotional disconnect between them. In fact, they had only met a dozen times before getting married. Their early years as a royal couple, raising Prince William and Prince Harry, seemed stable. But by 1986, Charles had resumed his affair with Camilla. Diana, feeling unloved and betrayed, found solace in her writing instructor James Hewitt, with whom she had a 5-year affair. In a bombshell 1995 interview with BBC journalist Martin Bashir, Diana famously stated, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." That single sentence shook the monarchy and confirmed years of speculation. Diana also confided in author Andrew Morton for his book Diana, Her True Story, which exposed the painful reality of her life behind palace walls. In secretly recorded tapes, she revealed a moment when she directly confronted Camilla. "I said, 'I know what's going on between you and Charles, and I just want you to know that.'" Camilla reportedly responded coldly, suggesting Diana already had everything she could ever want. Diana's reply was heartbreaking. "I want my husband." Despite her efforts, the royal marriage couldn't be saved. Charles and Diana separated in 1992 and officially divorced in 1996. Just 1 year later, Diana tragically died in a car crash, leaving the world in mourning. Years passed, and in 2005, more than 3 decades after their first encounter, Prince Charles finally married Camilla. It was a quieter affair, without the pomp of his first wedding, but one that signaled the end of a royal love triangle that had long captivated and divided the public. While the world celebrates the apprehension of the culprit, would there ever be a replica of Diana's legacy in the monarchy? Let's talk about Catherine, the daughter-in-law whose feet seem to match her shoes. Diana's spirit lives on. As the British monarchy found itself navigating one of its most challenging periods in recent memory, it wasn't a king or a crowned ruler who took the reins of hope and healing. It was Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Calm, composed, and determined, she quietly stepped forward as the steady anchor in a storm of uncertainty. Her mission was simple, yet deeply profound: to honor the past, protect the present, and shape the future, through legacy, not lineage. On August 18th, in a private and deeply symbolic move, Catherine made a decision that would forever connect her daughter, Princess Charlotte, to the beloved late Princess Diana. Without public fanfare or royal proclamation, she ordered that all of Diana's most cherished personal belongings, her exquisite Spencer tiara, heartfelt journals, and the world-famous sapphire engagement ring, be sealed in a special family vault. This collection, now known as the Wales Legacy Vault, was created with one intention: to be opened and passed down to Charlotte when she turns 18. But Catherine's vision didn't end there. She believed Diana's legacy wasn't just about treasured items or iconic fashion. It was about values. With that in mind, she quietly launched the Wales Legacy Trust, appointing the dignified and discreet Lady Rachel Montford as its director. The trust was designed to preserve Princess Diana's humanitarian spirit, not through royal titles or political influence, but through honesty, compassion, and truth. In a gesture both deeply personal and powerfully symbolic, Catherine soon took young Charlotte to Althorpe, Diana's ancestral home. No press were invited, no staged photographs allowed. But what unfolded there touched the hearts of millions. As mother and daughter stood before the serene memorial lake, Charlotte bent down and placed a single white rose in memory of the grandmother she never met. The moment was meant to remain private, but one candid photograph leaked online, capturing Charlotte's quiet tribute. It spread like wildfire, becoming the most shared image of the year, a testament to Diana's enduring influence across generations. Just days after that emotional visit, the Diana Charlotte Legacy Fund was announced. In an astonishing display of public support and affection, the fund raised over £12 million in just 4 days. The funds were dedicated to causes Diana had held close to her heart: children's health care and mental well-being. This modern tribute to Diana's work resonated with millions, signaling that her mission was far from forgotten. Perhaps the most defining moment of all came when Prince William signed an extraordinary charter, legally entrusting the rights to Diana's image, likeness, and memory entirely to the Wales family. This wasn't just a sentimental gesture, it was a powerful legal move. Not even the crown itself could override this decision. Diana's legacy, long debated and politicized, was now firmly in the hands of those who knew her best and cherished her most. Through these quietly courageous actions, Catherine had done more than pay tribute. She had rewritten the rules of remembrance. She had honored Diana's life not as a royal relic, but as a living legacy meant to inspire a new generation, starting with her own daughter. With Camilla facing the consequence of her actions, what would be the fate of the crown? Let's take a quick dive into the future of the crown, as a new moon prepares to rise above the royal family. The People's Crown. By August 2025, Britain found itself in the midst of a historic turning point, one not defined by coronations or royal decrees, but by silence, reflection, and an unexpected surge of public emotion. Queen Camilla had been cast into the shadows, living in exile and retreating from all public appearances. King Charles II had all but disappeared from the public eye, his once steady presence now an echo of the past. And, in the vacuum left behind, something remarkable happened. The people turned not to the throne, but to a woman who had never worn a crown. Catherine, Princess of Wales, stepped quietly but powerfully into the hearts of millions. Without a royal title change or formal proclamation, the people had chosen their queen, not through lineage, but through love. She became, in the truest sense, the people's queen. Across the United Kingdom, an emotional wave swept the streets. It began subtly, but grew with a force no one could have predicted. From London to Manchester, spontaneous Diana marches erupted. Candle-lit vigils lined sidewalks and filled city squares. The glow of thousands of flickering lights created a powerful tapestry of remembrance and renewed hope. At the center of these gatherings was a single unifying cry, chanted by millions: Diana deserved better. It was more than a slogan. It was a reckoning. The memory of Princess Diana, long cherished and mourned, now took on a new life through her daughter-in-law. Handwritten signs and emotional tributes reflected how deeply the public was connecting past pain with present hope. One sign, scribbled in a child's careful handwriting, read, "Charlotte, your grandma shines in you." It captured what many were thinking, that through Catherine and her daughter, the legacy of Diana was not only alive, but shining brighter than ever. The tides of public opinion were undeniable. A YouGov poll taken at the height of the marches revealed a staggering reality. Catherine was now the most beloved member of the royal family in modern history. She had in the hearts of the people surpassed even the revered Queen Elizabeth II. How did the monarchy, once battered by scandal, grief, and secrecy, arrive at such a moment of profound transformation? It was not by force, but by example. Princess Catherine embodied quiet strength and unwavering dignity. Her grace during the monarchy's most turbulent days provided a calm the public so desperately needed. Alongside her stood Princess Anne, fiercely committed to justice and transparency, refusing to let the truth be buried beneath palace walls. Prince William, with the heart of his mother and the responsibility of his future crown, showed courage that inspired a weary nation. Together, the trio sparked not a revolution of rebellion, but one of healing. This was the birth of a new chapter in British history, one no longer obsessed with crowns, castles, and ceremony. Instead, it was a movement grounded in truth, dignity, and redemption. The monarchy, once teetering under the weight of its own secrets, found a path forward, illuminated by candles, lit with purpose, and carried by a woman who never asked to be queen, yet became one in every sense that truly matters. Now, do you think Catherine is in the best position to take Diana's role? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.